Hello, YouTube fam. How y'all doing? It's your Uncle Tim. This is Uncle Tim Rants and Reviews, the channel where I rant and I review. I'm your host, Uncle Tim, fam. You know what? Let's talk about home ownership. You know, a lot of people say, hey, it's the way to go. It's the American dream. You know, everybody dreams of owning a home. You know what? I could say that's true. I could say myself and my wife included, man, we dream of owning a home. You know, so we were out trying to buy one, man, and then some shit happened in the process. Things that happened in the process was, one, they have these 30-year loans. After breaking down what percentage would be going to principal and what be going to interest, you got your property taxes included, your insurance, and other things that's included. But you looking at what your mortgage would be a month. That's one thing, and how with property taxes and your insurance going up, how your mortgage can rise or double over a period of time. Now, see, I'm looking at the thing. That's just one thing. There's a whole nother thing that people never paid attention to because we were just not looking at homes. We were looking at townhomes and condos, bro. Homes, all of these places. Some of these places we were looking at had HOAs, bro. And I'm looking at this shit. Some of the HOAs, man, were just ridiculous. I'm trying to figure out who the hell did they think they are, man? You know, what were they thinking? And I'm going to tell you of this situation I had with my ex. Well, she was somebody I was seeing. I ain't gonna say ex. Somebody I was seeing for a minute. Way back before, I met my wife and every damn thing like that. This young lady was paying like $500 for a mortgage, which I thought was just cheap as hell. And that was included with the HOA fee, and I'm like, wait, hold on, like, without the HOA, I guess the mortgage would have been $350, but they went up, and I'm like, wait, but your mortgage is only $500, and you crying about $500 fucking dollars? What are we doing here? Like, and I protested, and I'm not paying. I said, $500 fucking dollars. I said, you make really good money. Like, why are you not paying this, bro? What is going on? Dude, I'm going to tell you something. That particular case, I had to look at it and say, this motherfucker was crazy. You had a parking spot. You had laundry in your facility. I mean, in your unit. You had a balcony that looked out with an amazing view. And I'm trying to figure out what the hell wrong with you. $500 fucking dollars. Then, in the building, one of the people had like 3 units. They knocked, the walls down, in 2 of the units, man, and they had like 3 parking spots, and people were pissed off that this person had 3 parking spots. You own 3 apartments, you got 3 spots, right? How hard is that? But you know what? I'm going to say this, and I want you to look at this. So we looking at these places, and the HOAs, man, were like $400 and $500. And I'm trying to figure out, I said, what is that, a year? They're like, no, it's a month. It covers this, this, and this. It covers the cutting of the grass. I said, none of these units have grass. Snow removal. I said, we don't even have sidewalks. What the fuck are we doing here? I said, so wait, this is just a money grab, right? What you mean? I said, it's a money grab. I said, you're not covering anything. One place said they were covering the common area, which was just, like empty field with nothing in it. That's what the HOA was covering. And they had a retention pond. And, I'm like, it's not a retention pond. It was like supposed to be a swimming pool, right? It looked like a fucking pond. I'm like, it wasn't even that big. I'm like, it was just stagnant water. I'm like, bro, what are y'all doing over here? Like, oh man, you look like you would be detrimental, and and you sitting here listening to these people spout off all the things you can't have. Garage doors could only be this color. Houses could only be painted this color. There can't be, the mailbox can't be anything extra. The house has to have this, and it has to have work approved by these particular people that we do business with. And I'm like, wait, hold on. No. I'm not doing business with somebody that you recommend. I'm doing business with the people that I do business with. What I get done on the inside of my home has shit to do with you. I was going in, man, because I was like, wait, hold on. I'm listening to all this shit. I'm like, y'all not covering anything, y'all not doing anything, but you asking for large sums of money. I said, do y'all got any type of receipts or invoices of what y'all got? And this guy was looking at me like, you don't even live here, or, you haven't bought here yet. I said, but you spouting this shit off to me real hard. I said, what do you got to show me that whatever you selling here is true? Because, these people just lying to you, man. This is why I say, be careful of buying a home and you get in there and you found out the damn HOA is hiding your damn mortgage. Your mortgage is what? I say your mortgage is $1,000 downtown. Hold on. I was looking at this place long time ago with my friend. We were downtown. Man, dude made good money. But I was just down there with him as like moral support, he was about to get the place and stuff, and I asked her. He didn't never ask this question. I said, "Is there a HOA?" And she was like, she stopped, right? Like, and she looked at him like, "You gonna let him answer questions?" And he said, "Is there a HOA?" And she was like, "Yeah." I said, "How much is the HOA fee?" And she was like, "Well, it's like 1,000." And I asked, I said, "Oh, a year?" I said, "That ain't bad. $1,000 a year." She said, "No, it's $1,000 a month." And he stopped. He looked and said, "What?" Like, you had his ass up until that moment. You sitting here about to pay $3,000 a month. Then you got to pay $1,000. I said, "Well, do the HOA covers what?" I said, "Do it cover light, gas, what, internet or something?" I said, "What is it covering?" And she was like, "Well, it's covering the cutting, the maintenance of the, she said of the grass. I think it was the pool and cleaning of the common areas." I said, "It ain't no common areas in this building." And I said, I stopped and I looked at him. I said, "Man," I said, "you better walk away from this one." I said, and she was like, "Man, you're not the one buying it. He is." He's like, "Shit, I'm not the one buying this either." It don't make no sense. You can't tell somebody where the hell the money going. And see, these HOAs been getting away with that shit for the longest. This is why I recommend people, before you incorporate into that shit, you need to find out who's benefiting. The HOA can put liens against your property. Wait, is it liens, or they can give you assessments or whatever like that? And hell, in certain cases, they could foreclose on your home. How the fuck you could foreclose on my home and you ain't made not one payment? You see where I'm going with this? They telling you what you can do. My friend stay in this building, and well, they got a condo in this building, and the building do work with certain people, and they want you to do work with those people too. Dude, I'm gonna tell you something. The roof on the entire building went out. Instead of getting multiple quotes, they got a quote from one of their friends, and a friend quoted some ridiculous amount to do the building's roof. It's going to be $150,000. I looked at the top. I said, "This is no bigger than damn a house. No bigger than the apartment building. Not apartment building, a house." I said, "If a house is like 10 to 20 grand, why y'all charging like 120?" I said, "It don't make no damn sense." Looking at the radius of the roof and seeing how big it is, bro, the roof wasn't that big. And I'm like, the fuck they really doing, right? She started doing research and come to find out, man, you find out, people start getting indicted and shit like that. Like I said, people get greedy out here. You start noticing things. This is why I don't mess with people. This is why I say, if you gonna do something, get something that you can own clearly and not have any damn thing to do with regular random ass greedy people, because people and greed go hand in hand. These HOAs are the devil, bro. This is why I don't mess with them. You rarely ever get good HOAs. Whereas you in the community, you got this water park, you got these other activities for the kids, you got like a tennis, court, a basketball court, you got, a rock climbing wall. You see, if you paying for all this shit, you like, okay, $1,000 a month for some of this. I could see all this. In the HOA, it makes a lot of sense. You got a water park here. Dude, you ain't got none of that shit. And you paying $1,000 a month. This is an exclusive area. You're like, what is exclusive about it? Everybody assholes. I'm paying $1,000 just to be here. Bro, make it make sense, bro. This is why I tell you. If you don't pay attention and you start buying the first thing you see because you want it so badly, this is how people lose their homes. They don't really look at the home. You know, they so busy trying to get the home, they didn't look and see what else was attached to it. Shit, if your mortgage is already $3,000 and you got another $1,000 tacked on it, dude, that's steep. I don't know. Me, I've been a gay that motherfucker back. Look, the HOA can have it. You know, but you know what? What they do is they end up selling your home if they foreclose on it for any crazy ass reason. They end up selling it to some of their friends and dude get it for pennies on a damn dollar, damn near. You know how messed up that is? That's crazy, ain't it? But you know what? This is how people do you because people are nickel slick. Not everybody's bad, but not everybody's good. But till later, peace out.